You're certainly welcome.
Gentleman from St. Mary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. No questions of the floor leader. You can take a deep breath, but I do want to make some comments on third reader on this bill. So, you're welcome. Thanks for answering everyone's questions here. I think everyone's missing the point. When we started session, we were talking about affordable housing and how to make housing cheaper. This bill doesn't accomplish that. This raises the cost of housing. Housing is basically a supply and demand field. Right now, the problem is we need more houses, and we have too many people looking for houses. From a landlord's perspective, over the last couple years, we've used source of income. They're not allowed to discriminate on that. In some counties, they're not allowed to discriminate on credit score. And now we've taken another piece away from them where they're not even allowed to look on case search to try to figure out if they should let a paying tenant rent their house or a non-paying tenant. The landlord takes incredible risk when you allow a tenant to live in your home. And this is the reason why so many mom and pop landlords are saying, you know what, it's not worth it. Because you get a bad tenant, one or two times in a row, I'm telling you, tens of thousands of dollars come out of your pocket. It's bad. This bill shields non-paying tenants and will result in less landlords being in the business of renting houses, which is bad for our consumers. It's just that simple. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just need to correct the record. This bill does not shield non-paying tenants. They are not in the bill. The people in the bill are paying tenants. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Since we're clearing the record, the bill actually says if a judgment for possession is not entered. That doesn't mean that that means that the person at some point did not pay their rent, the landlord filed a case against them, and then at some point later, the person paid their rent. So they did not pay their rent on time. They later cured. So the judgment for possession was not entered. So just so that we're clear on the record, because courts are going to have to review this if there's a problem. So what the bill is doing is saying if a person actually cures, so they were late, they did not pay on time, and we're now not letting the landlord see that information. And that is an important piece of information for landlords to have. It further states that if within 12 months they cure, they can go back and ask for it to be shielded. So one is mandatory, saying within 60 days, if there was no judgment of possession, that automatically goes away. So that is saying people who were late you're not going to see that as a landlord. And then the second part is permissive. So just so that everybody's clear in what we're voting on. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the second bite at the apple. To my good friend from Health and Government Operations Committee, of course it's about the tenants not paying their rent, else they wouldn't be in court. So the question is not whether or not it's about rent not being paid. It's that we had to go to court to begin with, which means something went wrong. All right, the fact that there's a cure, and I appreciate the comments from the good delegate behind me here, is irrelevant to the overall conversation that a court adjudication takes months, not days and not weeks. And that for the good people, and most landlords have great tenants that have difficulties, that work to pay their rent, those landlords are willing to do that. But if you went to court, it's because you concluded as a landlord that there's a problem. And the problem is that their willingness to do what is under contract between the landlord and tenant, which is rents are due on the first of the month. Most landlords have a grace period. Most landlords have, if you don't pay within the grace period, a late fee. Some don't have late fees. But But if you got to the point where you had to go to court to make a collection, something went terribly wrong. And if the cure takes me 60 to 90 days to resolve, that is no cure. And frankly, to get to that point, yes, there should be a court record, and yes, it does matter as it relates to the next time this tenant goes to rent, that this is the history, the credit history that relates to that relationship that you're trying to decide whether you want to rent to this tenant or not. It's very relevant. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for a second bite at the apple.
Senate Bill 19 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 19, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.